The following broadcast is intended for mature audiences. These are real people sharing very real, deeply personal experiences. This content may be considered triggering for others and for those who are sharing. The chat room is a privilege intended for discussions and sharing. You are not being asked to agree, but you are being asked to stay civil and refrain from personal attacks. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome back to Am I Mental? A live podcast where real people share stories about how life impacts mental health and how mental health impacts life. I'm your host, E, and no co-host tonight, and my guest accidentally double booked earlier for some extra money tonight versus having the podcast. And as important as mental health is, I really can't blame them for choosing to make some money. But it did open up an opportunity that I'm going to go ahead and pursue. You see, over the years, there's been a number of guests that we've tried to line up, and for one reason or another, it just never worked out. And, I mean, that's just the nature of having a live podcast. Well, because I do feel that these stories are really important and they absolutely do need to be shared, I am going to go ahead and do some pre-recorded episodes and have them played back, just dropped when they're done. Not necessarily right away. Try to keep it with the schedule that we already have, if possible. But, not worried about it too much. But, again, it's a way to get those stories out that I felt really need to be told. Tonight's guest, who was supposed to be on, but they couldn't get extra coverage for tonight, which is okay. Last Saturday, exactly, was their 9th month sober from fentanyl. And I really thought that we should have that conversation because, we've talked about a lot of different types of addiction. We've had alcohol, we've had gambling, we've had meth, just that was, the meth was a major plague through the 90s and the first part of the 2000s. Fentanyl's rather new. And I thought that would be a good one to talk about it. And, I mean, addiction is a serious issue. We're going to actually record. We're scheduled to record Tuesday morning. We're not going to be live. It's going to be pre-recorded. I'm still going to keep it in a live conversational format. I'm not going to edit it, at all. We're just not going to be live. That's the difference. I'm just going to upload it. And I'm going to try to reach out to the person that found freedom and a way to help their mental health through basically twisting a handle on a motorcycle and going faster. And also the one that I really was hoping to get as a major feather in the cap, because also it's just something we haven't talked about. I guess we have had some eating disorder stuff, but we never had someone that has anorexia to the point where they've had to be hospitalized because their heart was starting to suffer from the body just seeking anywhere to get nutrition to keep them going. And also we had the one lady who, she does promoting in the evenings over the weekend. That's part of her hustle, and she's a brand ambassador, and she models, and, is a single mom, has a child on the spectrum, and she herself is dealing with a brain tumor that came back. I really want to get her story. So I'm going to reach out to these people and be like, hey, I ended the live segment of this. Now, while I am a stay-at-home dad because of the fact that my son's in kindergarten, Basically, it's like, I get up, I get the kids to school, I come home, I have like a couple of hours to do like chores or whatever, study for tests for my class that I'm in. Then we turn around and I go and I pick him up from school just before noon. Then I come home and it's like, okay, we got to work on getting him some lunch, got to get his homework going. By the time he's done with his homework, we may have another hour. Then I have to go and get my daughter, rinse and repeat. Then we have after school programs. They're both in Scouts. One's in Boy Scout or Cub Scouts. One's in Girl Scouts. They both have baseball together, and I'm an assistant coach, which we actually coached. I actually got to do full head coach today, which was hella fun. Not going to lie. Played against a great team. The coaches on the other team had the same philosophy that we did, which was we're just out there to have fun. Let the kids just have a blast. Every kid gets to hit. Every kid gets up per inning. And just let them have fun. I mean, we're talking about kids that are between the ages of 5 and 7. Expecting them to be able to play full rules baseball is a big ask. Now, when I was in that age group, it was still T-ball for us. This age group now, it's coach pitch, which I think is a great progression to help the kids get used to the ball in motion, because that was honestly my biggest challenge when going from T-ball to Babe Ruth was the pitching. The ball's moving differently towards me. And I discovered, that I actually have really crap reflexes. I'm fast once I react. It's just that reaction takes a little while for me. Yeah. So that did not make it very fun for me. But, it's helping out with these kids because they're getting that timing down now. They're getting used to seeing the ball coming at them now. And, yeah, it's pretty cool. So, yeah, I have that going on. With everything else. Oh, yeah, also my little girl, she's getting ready to go into cheer after baseball ends. So right now she's going to tumbling and cheer classes to help give her a leg up on the rest of her cohort because she wants to be a flyer. And damn, that terrifies me. Not going to lie. I'm proud of her. She wants to be the one being thrown in the air and caught and tossed and twisted and tumbled around. And yeah, I just see lots of injuries and, like broken bones, trips to the ER, lots of worry, probably going to be eating Rolaids, like they're, from a Pez dispenser, like they're candy or something. But, it's what she wants to do, and I'm going to support her in it. And she's good at it. Like, just this year alone, we've already seen a huge leap in her ability. So, yeah, with all the stuff that's going on, it makes scheduling pretty hard. So I think doing some pre-recorded episodes is not a bad idea. Not to mention the fact that I do have my class, which is every Tuesday evening, Thursday evening, and Sunday morning. It's 3.5 hours, 3.5 hours, 5 hours, respectively. So yeah, it's a thing. It's a busy time for me. But I did want to share a little bit of the stats about the podcast. We have, as of right now, 135 listenable episodes. That includes episode zeros that we would do every once in a while. And also the double episode in season 1 with Rachel, which, oh my god, that was fantastic. Yeah. We've had 6,041 downloads, 801 total live plays. And the stats, I can only go back about 12 months. So we've had 2,075 downloads this last 12 months alone, which tracks a little bit above the average year over year. So this is 3 years that we've been going. And we've had 212 live listens. We've been listened in the United States, it's number 1, followed by Spain, India, United Kingdom, Italy, the Philippines, New Zealand, Netherlands, Saudi Arabia, Canada, Sweden, Australia, Germany, Ireland, Vietnam, Mexico, Peru, Brazil, Indonesia, Colombia, Hungary, Bosnia, and Herzegovina. Yeah, that's a tough one for me. United Arab Emirates, Denmark, Russia, and 23 other countries, which it won't tell me other because I don't have the more paid for version of this. But yeah, that's really cool to be able to see on this map. It's like we've lit up a very large part of the world. And this is just the last 12 months. We've had other countries in here that I do remember seeing light up. Like, I saw Iceland light up. I saw Norway and Finland light up. Germany lit up. Portugal lit up for a while there. Yeah, we had other countries over, like African countries light up, which this, right now, not a single African country. But that's okay. It's really interesting watching how we've been listened to and where people have been most consistent. Talking about you, Spain, India, and New Zealand. You, outside the United States, you three have been the big three this whole time. And, appreciate you. Looking at the top episodes over the last, 12 months, we had Surviving the Holidays was a big one. Rodfather 916 was a huge one. Our 100th episode was a huge one. My cousin Lisa talks about beating addiction while raising a family. That was a big one. Talking about SAD was a big one. We had some really notable episodes. And I thank you guys. You guys are, like, the listeners that we have are the best listeners that you could ever have. And I love you guys immensely. Sorry for the distraction here. Yeah, I know you guys can't hear it, but right now, one of my son's best friends is trying to reach out via FaceTime, and it's ringing my computer, and it's really loud in my headphones. So, yeah. No, we're not a huge podcast. If I was able to put as much effort into this podcast as I had hoped to have done, I'm sure that it would have been much bigger. If I pushed advertising more, if I was trying to put in 40 hours a week and trying to get, this podcast built, or even 50 or 60 hours a week, yeah, I could have done that. Couldn't really do that with my family, though. Just too much other stuff going on. And that's just life. This podcast is up for anyone who would like to take it. I want to get those last couple of recorded episodes out before I hand over the reins to anyone that's interested. No fees. It's all yours. There are fees. You're gonna have to you're probably gonna have to pay for a Zoom account, because obviously, unless you're going to try to connect up any other way, which you can. I can help out with the technical aspects on getting this up and running and how you can hijack the audio from one app and reroute it to another app like this, so we can have these conversations. Yeah, I'm totally happy for the technical support aspect of things. How I do the flow of things, how to set playlists, how to do the sound effects board, how to load things up. There's a bit to it. There is quite a bit to it. There's a little technical know-how that's needed to get it started, but once you got it set up, it's fairly straightforward and easy. Yeah. You're going to have to pay for web hosting if you want to keep the website up. You're going to have to pay for Spreaker hosting for sure. And if no one takes it over, I'm going to keep paying the Spreaker hosting. As long as I see people are listening, I'm going to keep paying for the hostings. The instant I get rid of the hosting is the instant we lose almost every episode into the ether. I have them all backed up onto an SD card. That's not an issue. But I'm going to keep it going as long as people are listening. And if the podcast starts to take off after the fact, nothing's saying we can't pick it up and keep running with it again. I am going to be tracking that. And, Us and I, we have been talking. Not a lot lately because we've been both really busy. Early, we're in, mid-spring now, getting close to late spring, early summer. And, yeah, we both have a lot going on. This is a busy, busy time of year. And if you just heard it, you just heard the AC kick on. Yeah, it's getting hot in my office again. So, yeah, that's always fun. Of course, today happens to be the last hot day for a 10-day stretch of coldness, which Mother Nature's drunk in California, I tell you. Absolutely drunk. But yeah, this podcast will be up for anyone that's willing to take it and run with it. I'd love to see it keep going. I would love to see it grow and become a success. And no, I don't have any expectations of coming back if someone else runs it. Now, if you invite me to come on sometimes, I may do that because it's always fun to come back and do these things. But I don't want to be a regular part, at least right now. And like I said, Austin and I had been talking, and we do see a possibility of finding a way to bring the podcast going after the summer, like in the fall, where it may be every other week, but you'll only get one of us once a month. Yeah, because that's maybe something that we could work with. And if we could get a total, like 2 other people willing to come on and host once a month, then we could stay weekly. And then we could just drop the whole season's format and just keep going. Say, it's my week, it's your week, it's your week, it's your week, it's my week, it's your week, it's your week, it's your week. Cool rotation. Keep it going weekly. You're just responsible for your own guests. That's an idea that we've had. And sometimes it could be like, hey, I got this guest, can't come on during my episode. Would you be able to take this person for your episode? That obviously the whole idea is to get the stories on the air. And there'll be times to be like, pop in, hey, you know what, I just decided to come in and co-host today. Co-hosts really help out a lot. Like, oh my God, they help out a lot. But you don't need them. They're just like one of the greatest things ever, but you don't need them. Kind of like, I guess you could say a a dishwasher. They're like one of the greatest things ever, but you don't need them. You can still hand wash your dishes. And that's kind of where things are and where they stand. My own emotional and mental health right now and my emotional mindset and all that, I'm good. I am good. Tonight was a reminder of why I do need to step away, though. Because this live format thing, it is stressful. And I'm supposed to be here promoting, hey, take care of your mental health, Your mental health matters. You have to take care of yourself first before you can take care of anybody else, because you need to be in a position to be able to take care of others. And my own mental health has been deteriorating for a while now. And I will say it's directly tied to this podcast. And I'm not trying to scare away people that might want to do this. It's just my personal pool of guests has dried up. When I first started, I had this abundant pool. Everybody does. Your friends, your family, co-workers, acquaintances, people you can network through on social media, like friends of friends, stuff like that. There are resources. And I have the ability to really tap in hardcore into TikTok because of someone who is a pretty good influencer. Actually, I have a couple of friends, like 3, who are paid influencers on TikTok that I could reach out to and be like, hey, could you maybe help out with the podcast? Actually, 2 of them volunteered. Hey, get back on your TikTok, make a video, and I'll share it. But I was already at the point where I was like ready to be done with the podcast anyway, at least to take a break. If I come back, you better believe I'm taking advantage of that. Because it's a great resource, honestly. Love it or hate it, TikTok does have a lot of stuff to do with helping mental health, even though it also hurts mental health in a lot of ways, which, you'd have to be insane to deny that. And, I am insane, and I'm not going to deny that. But yeah, there's a lot of things that we can do. And when you take over, almost everything's tied to the same 1 or 2 accounts. Things that are not tied to those specific accounts, I can tie them to those accounts. So that way, when you take over, you're taking over quite literally 1 account. That account leads to another account, which is tied to everything else. It all makes sense if you decide that you want to take over the podcast. But honestly, it's been a fun ride. Right now, Chad is dead. Again, this time of year has always been a struggle for this podcast because everyone is now going out. They're camping, they're fishing, they're hiking, they're partying. They're doing family get-togethers and outings and whatever. yeah, this is just a great time of year to not be in the house. You know? I get it. I'm about to be out of the house. So I'm going to actually wind up cutting this episode pretty short overall. Because I don't really have a lot of material to go over. Not really, not tonight. I kind of have a little bit of short timers right now. I'm not going to lie. But next week, Oz is going to be running an episode. I am going to skip it because it is my baby girl's 8th birthday party, and it's actually her birthday that day. So yeah, I'm doing it. I'm going to a roller skating rink with my stress-fractured foot, and I'm just going to sit and watch. Normally, I would participate. I'm terrible at skating. I don't really care to skate. But, it's for my kids. I'll skate for my kids. Today, I had coached on a stress fracture on my foot. Because the head coach that we normally have, he had to work today. He couldn't call out sick. He works for a hospital. It'd be kind of bad to call out sick. And a couple of other assistant coaches, they had trips that were pre-planned that they went on. So it was either I show up and run the team, or we forfeit. We had 7 kids show up today. I was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and aggravate my foot injury, possibly make it worse, and suffer just for a little bit longer while I heal, versus disappointing more than a handful of kids. And don't forget, there was the other team as well. We'd have to disappoint them as well, because then they would have to go from playing a game to it's just practice. And that's not as fun as a game. So yeah, I went out and I had a good time. I really had a good time. My foot hurts like hell. Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna go and I'm probably gonna get some skates anyway. It's like $2 to rent the skates. That's super cheap because we're doing a birthday party. I may go out and go around the ring 1 or 2 times with my little girl, just so that way I can, because it's my first time to be able to skate with her. And my boy will be there too. Maybe I'll get him to go out and skate with us. But then the week after that, if no one's taking over the podcast, it'll be the series finale of live episodes. I've already got a commitment from every former and current co-host that they're all going to be on. And we are going to talk about the podcast, how you guys, the listeners, the guys, all of you that were guests, and each other have impacted our lives, how this podcast has impacted our lives, how it's changed our relationships, how we view ourselves, how we view the world. I think it's a good way to end an era by really addressing the one thing that we've never even brought up before, even though it's been mentioned a few times, about the stress of the podcast. I mean, how many times have I been on this microphone crying because I was just so frustrated and disappointed and let down and just, all the emotions, all the feels, because I couldn't get a guest. And more than anything, I felt like I was letting everybody else down. I, to this day, do not blame a single guest for having to either flake on us or tell us last minute that they had to back out. I mean, we had one guest, we were in the intro music. The disclaimer was playing, and they said, I can't do this, and dropped off. What kind of a mental health podcast would we be if we hounded them going, you committed to this, you have to do this, screw your mental health, talk about mental health? I mean, really? I'll say that my sister not having been on is something I wish I could have had her on. We've gone through hell and back together. I mean, we're only 3.5 years apart, almost to the day. We are 3 years, 6 months, and 2 days apart in age. And And we're about as polar opposite in a lot of things as you could possibly imagine. I'm a night owl. She's a morning person. I like the suburbs and I like the city to some extent. She is, cabin out in the middle of nowhere kind of person. Give her, a bunch of acreage and leave her the hell alone. I like cars. She likes horses. It's like she likes country. I like electronic music. We are nearly as opposite as can be, but we've gone through the same hell. We've watched the same family members pass away. We've watched the same struggles from inside our own house that never went public. She experienced shit that I wasn't able to... I was never made aware that she went through. I went through some shit that she was never made aware that she went through, but we both are aware of now. She's also like my best friend. And I will say I have a good group of best friends. I have a group of people that I would entrust with my own life, well-being, finances, everything, because I know that they wouldn't do me wrong, and she's one of them. I am very blessed to have people like that. Bexy is definitely one of them. Oz is quickly becoming one of them. Jay is quickly becoming one of them. And I still have a few outside of that. Yeah, I wanted this podcast to be big. I did. Who wants to start a podcast and be like, God, I hope it stays small forever? That's just not a thing that I'm aware of. Maybe there's someone out there like that, and they start getting big. They're like, fuck this, and they pull the plug. I don't know. I'm glad we didn't just explode on the scene, because that's a nightmare that I'm glad I didn't get to experience. I would have liked to have seen a gradual increase, season after season, year over year, where as new challenges arise, we can start dealing with them. Like, hey, now we have people who are coming on and spamming in the chat. Now we really need to start considering having a moderator. Hey, now we have people that are coming in and they're just harassing jerkheads. Well, we now got to start taking care of that. We're now at the point where we are starting to get so many people that want in on the show, we might need someone dedicated to scheduling and vetting and maybe doing pre-shows without us, doing their own, like here's a list of questions and stuff, really start to formalize it more and more. There were a lot of things that, I was aware that we would probably have to face, but I also don't know what I don't know. There were other challenges I know that would pop up that I've never heard of that we would have to just magically have to figure out a solution to, which would be one of those things where it's like, okay, well, let's go online and find out how other people dealt with this shit. But it never happened, and I'm okay with that. We didn't get to the 10,000 download mark, which I had hoped we would have by now, but I'm okay with that. We're still over 5,000 downloads. That's actually pretty awesome for me. What really matters the most is the feedback that I would get. Getting feedback of, hey, I decided not to kill myself because of episode X, Y, and Z. I thought I didn't have any kind of mental health issues, and then this guest came on, and it felt like they were reading from the book of my life. So then I went and saw a psychologist, and now I'm getting help, and my life is better for it, and I would never have had this happen had I not listened to this episode. Now, those are some feathers to put in your cap and be proud of, and I am. I am so proud of what we were able to accomplish on this podcast. I've made friends that I didn't know existed. And for those that have listened long enough, you remember C. C's like my little brother now. I love him to death. If it wasn't for this podcast, never would have met. And if you remember, C went through some shit and we had to circle the wagons live on air. Don't know if C would still be here without the podcast. If I remember, I'll bring it up on the series finale. They made it very clear they are for sure going to be here. And love you, little brother. Hurry up and turn 21 so we can all go out to karaoke. But again, honestly, this isn't the end right now. We still have a couple episodes left. And then we have a few pre-recorded episodes I want to get shot out there. Because they're stories that I think, like I said, they need to be told. And we don't need to be live for it. And honestly, maybe the podcast goes forward that way. Maybe all of a sudden we start having more guests and we could do that. If that's what it takes to go forward, okay. I won't be as stressed about it. And I won't care about a regular release cycle. Now, I mean, if we get a regular release cycle, if we get enough episodes where we start backlogging them, it's like, holy crap, we got like 20 pre-recorded episodes. Cool. Every whatever day, we could just pick a new day, a new hour, and be like, okay, at this time, publish. 1 week later, publish. 1 week later, publish. Because even though some of these episodes were about events that were time sensitive, like COVID, they do withstand the test of time because it's still about mental health. And we all remember COVID. And I'm sure that we would remember a lot of other things too. Even if we were like an episode that's like, half a year later, well, it's only a half a year. Odds are we still will remember it when it's mentioned again. Some episodes I would have loved to have gotten my hands on. Stories that I hate exist. I mean, basically, pretty much all the stories I hate, they exist. I do. I'm not sitting here going, God, I would love to talk to somebody who was in a car accident and had to get a prosthetic arm. That's one person I do plan on having a recorded episode with. They were a guest on earlier back when season 1, when we only had 45 minutes. Yeah. And then they were going to come back on, and they got into a car accident around Christmas time, and it was a bad accident, and they wound up having their arm pinned for a very long time under their car, so they had to lose their arm. But to give you an idea of what kind of spirit this person has, the first thing they did when they got their new prosthetic robotic arm, they asked, how do I flip someone off? This person is a spitfire, and I love them for it. Well, I love them for a lot of things, but that's a big part of it. But that happened years ago. Does it really matter? No. Do I want stories like that? No. I mean, yes, because they do exist. No, I don't want them to happen, but because they happen, I would like to get those stories on here. I would like to have had someone on who survived a shooting. I tried pretty hard to, we had domestic abuse episodes where the abused came on, the survivors. I've been trying to find someone, desperately trying to find someone who's a reformed abuser who has gone years without abuse and is truly, truly repentant and not going to try to justify anything they did. I would like to have had one of them on. Again, when we started out, we were able to start grabbing stories from angles that people didn't typically think of. I'm a parent of a child that X. Here's how that thing impacted me. Because everybody already knows how it pretty much impacted the child. Because everybody talks about that, but not the parent. We did that multiple times. We tried trying to be unique. And I think that we did a good job. I would still like to get more of these things. No, I don't ever want to get a shooter on. Hell no. Well, okay, there may be some conditions where that might be okay. Like, hey, you know what? They were strung out on drugs, stressed out. They were brainwashed through hate and propaganda. Now, yeah, they are 30, 40 years down the road, and they are stable. They're normal. They would never do something like that again and highly repentant. It'd be kind of interesting to get into that head and find out how they got there. Yeah, that would be a great story. Not all villains stay villains their entire existence. It's one of the beauties about life that I'm trying really hard not to go political here, but it's one of the beautiful things about human beings is that we do grow and we do change. Well, we have the capacity to do so. Some people do, some people don't. And there's people out there that, you know what, I'm going to pull up a song. If you know the song Zombified by Falling in Reverse, they talk about, oh no, they can't let go of something that you said 10 years ago. They're canceling you. And they want everyone zombified. Now, if you said something 10 years ago that's not representative of who you are today, should you be canceled for it? Absolutely not. What that whole movement was doing was saying, we're not going to allow you to change. We're not going to allow you to grow. We're not going to allow you to become a better version of you. We are going to hold you to who you once were, whether you like it or not. That's horrible. That just tells people, it doesn't matter if you grow or get any better. If we don't like you, we're going to cancel you. Where's the motive to get better? It doesn't exist. Yeah, so that's always been an issue with me. I hate that movement. I really do. I really, really do. And even though one side of the political spectrum is more well known for doing it than the other, both sides are guilty of it. I'm sure that one is more retaliation because the other one's doing it than not. But I also know firsthand from people, you know, I run in different circles, and some of the circles I run in, I've seen on both sides where they will initiate, not because, hey, they did that too, so we're going to do it back. No, they're like, get them, it's our opportunity. Yeah, not cool. And I just got a message from someone I might be able to pull in here. Yeah, so they just got off a call, and I just said, hey, I'm just wondering if you wanted to come on the podcast because you were our number one guest. Y'all might remember this person, and if you do, you know, come on in and let's have some fun. Let's talk a little bit about how the podcast impacted your life. And I'm going to send out an announcement here if they decide yes. And I mean the announcement, excuse me, by the way. And I do mean to announce it on Discord. If you're not on our Discord, why aren't you? Just get on it already. Yo, it's not that difficult. This is where the conversation is going to keep going, even beyond the podcast. Just go to amimental.net. If you're on a computer, you'll see a bunch of icons across the top right. One of them will be a Discord icon. Kind of looks like a game controller or like one of the little Space Invader aliens with eyes. That's an invite. Gets you straight into us. If you're on mobile, at the top, there's a little, the hamburger or the sandwich button. It's like the three lines that are, three horizontal lines. Tap on that, and then you'll see that icon. And then tap on that, and it'll invite you into Discord. If you have Discord already installed, it should launch and ask you to join from there. Yeah, the conversation is definitely happening there. So we shall see. We shall see. And if this person if Sarah decides not to jump on, that's fine. I'm just asking if she wanted to jump on and be like, hey, you want to talk about how the podcast impacted you, having been our most frequent guest? I don't think that would be a bad way to wrap this up myself. If not, then I'm just going to end it because I think I've had enough to say. I was hoping to fill in the 30 minutes, and I'm almost at 40 minutes, so yay. Yeah, so KZ should be coming back on the last episode. Bexy's already committed. Jay is going to try. C's definitely committed. Oz is definitely committed. Sarah's definitely committed. Not the same Sarah that I'm reaching out to now. Yeah, there's been a lot of Sarahs on. Sarah's a very popular name in my generation. Just gonna throw that out there, since all the Sarahs that have been on have been in my generation. Usually within just a few years of each other, honestly. And it doesn't look like they are getting the message, and that's okay. So, I'll give it about 5 more minutes. I will say I do have a favorite episode, which I will bring up in 2 weeks. We tried to replicate the episode a couple times. If you know what I'm talking about. It's one of those, if you know, you know. If you were around for that one magical episode that just came out of nowhere, then you would know why we tried to replicate it. And it turns out it couldn't be replicated. And that's okay. It just made that episode even more special. And made it why it's my favorite. Yeah, I think that the way we're going to end this is going to be pretty awesome. But seriously, I really can't put into words just how grateful I am to have had this opportunity to run as long as I have, made so many deep connections with as many people as I have. And had this opportunity to be able to help spread mental health awareness and try to help people feel less alone. And help improve lives, I really do believe that it is my mission in life to leave this world a better place than how I found it. And even though it does appear that the world is deteriorating around me, I'm helping to make it deteriorate less. And in some places, actually leave it better. Even if the world collapses, I can feel good by saying, I gave it my all. And I did impact lives in a positive way. And that has a way of moving forward exponentially. Imagine if this podcast didn't exist and someone actually did go ahead and commit suicide because they didn't get the episode that they heard. Who knows what their lives are like now? Maybe they're now in a successful relationship expecting a child. Maybe they saved 1 or 2 other people. Maybe they went and got themselves the dream job that they've always wanted. Or they took a vacation that they were planning on. And honestly, having been suicidal myself, and I do mean the note on the back of the closet door, goodbye to everyone, no phone calls, no reaching out, suicidal. It wasn't like I didn't have other plans that I had made, even though I was suicidal. I can't speak for everyone, but for myself, I still made plans. I still committed to things. I was less likely to, but I still did. And because I did not kill myself, I got to follow through on quite a few of those plans, which was kind of nice. Not gonna lie. Alright, you know what? It's coming up on... Yeah, I sent the message at 5:37. Been 8 minutes. I'm just going to end the episode. You know what, guys? Thank you for those that have come on after the fact to listen to this episode. I know who you are. You know who you are. I appreciate you. You're the realest. You're the best. You are why I kept doing this well beyond what I thought I'd ever do. Well, I mean, there was a part of me that was hope. You know, there's what I thought and what I hoped. I thought that this would be maybe a 1-year project. I had hoped to make a career out of it. It fell somewhere in the middle, and that ain't too bad. I aimed for the stars. I landed on the moon. And the view's nice here. So next week, Osa's got you. And then we're wrapping it up. One final hoorah. Hopefully everyone will be there. I hope that our chat room is hopping like, I hope it's going bananas. I really do. But in the meantime, I'm E. And I'll catch you on the next one.